2 episodes in, and it seems this series is just going to be this type of quality throughout the whole way. Hi, welcome to That's a Wrap, the channel where I review TV shows, movies, and movie trailers. Today's TV show that I will be reviewing is the highly disappointing Netflix original series, Jupiter's Legacy Episode 2. If you're not familiar with this series or not yet caught up, consider this your spoiler warning. So let's get on to the review. There really isn't anything good so far in these last 2 episodes. And it just, from episode 1, there was just the one scene at the end when they were fighting the villain at the end of that episode. And honestly, this episode tries to make me, feel for the suicide of, I can't even remember his name, his superhero name, which I'll get to in a little bit. Sheldon Sampson, he's the main guy, the main superhero. I called him Jupiter in my last review, but it's not. It's like Utopia or something, or Utopian or some crazy superhero name. But anyway, so they're giving us this backstory, but honestly, with the way the acting is, and the way, I don't know, again, it might be the casting not working with this one, and they're not working well off of each other. I'm just not, I could care less about why his dad was embezzling the funds and, borrowed from the pension. Like, I could care less. There is no incentive for me to want to know more about the backstory. Even throughout the whole episode when he's in the hospital at the end and he's having these flashbacks to where I'm assuming he's going to get his superpowers, because we're going from 1929 to the current era, and that's how we're going back and forth, which I could admire that kind of filming and editing. And it serves 2 purposes. I would have rather it been 1929 through the first 4 episodes, and then had glimpses of current, and then had episode 5 and 9. Now haven't gotten there yet. I'm basically watching them and reviewing right after. But I think it would have flowed better if it would have been that, and then have 4 through 8 just be more modern. But we'll see if it gets better. It hasn't gotten better. If anything, it's just stayed the same worst, or the same bad that episode 1 was, is the same thing that is here. I can't stand these superhero names. It looks like they just threw the first superhero that they thought of, the superhero name that they thought of, and they just said, yeah, that one. At least with Marvel and DC, trust me, they don't get away with it, because there's some stupid names in both DC and Marvel and other properties or other comic books. But there was, at least for the majority, it didn't sound ridiculous. It didn't sound forced. It didn't sound like something no one would think about. Like, if I had super speed, Quicksilver makes sense. The Flash makes sense. What could be another superhero name for, like, someone that super speed, would be a great name, or something like that. Not like, I don't know. But you get what I'm saying. Just listen to some of these superhero names, and you just laugh because they're silly, they're stupid, they're too complicated to be a superhero name. If I had like the Thor's ability to shoot lightning, I would call myself Lightning or Thunder, even though it wouldn't be. But assuming that Thunder's more the sound, not the actual lightning coming out of it. Or Volt would be something, or Supercharge, something to that effect. Not like Neural Storm, whatever the heck again, it's just silly, too complicated to just why they chose to go that route. And I'm sure that those are the names that are in the source material in the graphic novel. And even if that's the case, it's stupid. Again, Marvel and Stan Lee and other creators, DC, they took time to put some effort into naming their characters. they don't see this comic doesn't seem they put any effort. It's like, oh, we're gonna try to be so unique that we're gonna call them some crazy, way that something that no one would ever think of to call themselves. But anyways, so I find that super annoying, and every time I hear their superhero names, it takes me out of the story for whatever reason. It just does. Again, the acting, I said it earlier, I just don't understand why it's not hitting. These are pretty good actors. I've seen most of them in other works. And you would assume that, you see it in paper and you're like, wow, this is a talented cast. They should be able to work off of each other, but they just don't. It's a huge mystery to me. And again, I don't know his superhero name, but the main dude, the one that's super annoying and always about the code and doing the righteousness, like, is he supposed to be Superman, but the most goody two-shoes Superman possible? Because if it is, it's super freaking annoying. It's so, oh my God, him and his like virtue signaling, like, I'm the good guy, we need to uphold, we can't kill nobody. Even though his son did the correct thing, everyone sees it. Even when he stopped them in the protest, they said 75% of Americans approved of what his son did. And at the end of episode 1, when he kills the villain, the life of one, like, that's why I can't understand why Sheldon over here can't deduct what would have been the greater risk right there, So he killed one villain as opposed to the villain going, nuclear, killing all his dad, himself, his mom, all of his friends. They lost 3 for the price of 1 life. But if he would have detonated, it would have been thousands. So Sheldon here is okay with losing thousands of lives instead of just losing the one. There is no way. It's the same problem that I have with Captain America in the Age of Ultron, when they're all up in the sky and he's like, oh, we're not getting off this rock. And then, Black Widow looks at him like, wait, what? That makes no sense. How is that mathematically the right move? These lives up here as opposed to everyone on Earth. Like, at some point you have to make that call, but Captain America's like, no, I made up my mind. I'm righteousness. I'm gonna stand for good. Like, shut the fuck up, yo. Like, you're in the wrong, and that's the stubbornness that gets people killed, because they feel like the righteousness, like, oh, there's always a way out. There's always a better way. Sometimes there isn't a better way. Sometimes it has to be the stuff that the unmentionable, and sadly sometimes force has to be done. But he's all like, code this, upright this, we got to be citizens, we got to be up moral, we got to hold family values. You're speaking on even when his kids like, oh, what you guys are doing, you guys are living your own life, but it looks bad on my family, on our name. It's like, what? Like, you've been alive long enough to see how trends and how life has changed from the 1930s to the 2021s, yet you're still gonna sit with this archaic mentality. Like, come on. Like, you've seen wars, you've seen Hitler with mass murders in Vietnam and corrupt governments, and yet you still have this, again, this goody two-shoes attitude. Miss me with that shit. But anyways, again, just a horrible episode. I'm not enjoying this series one bit. It almost feels like a little bit of torture. I'm just gonna put it out there. But anyways, those are just my thoughts. Let me know down in the comments. Are you enjoying this episode or this series? Did you enjoy episode 2? Am I missing something? I'm pretty sure I am. But let me know what I'm missing. Let me know what could change this around. Maybe should I read the comic book to get more familiar, more of the backstory? But even though I think I will be more disappointed in reading the comics and then reading how they're not doing it justice. From all intensive purposes, I've read that it's a very popular comic book run, or a graphic novel run. But looking at this, I can't imagine that they're doing it justice. This is such B-rated. Like this almost feels like, you know how when you go, if it was a parody of the Avengers, like the Defenders, and it's a bunch of like class actors playing. This is what it feels like seriously. And I'm not trying to make, be a dick or poke fun of it at this. Well, maybe a little, but it feels so cheap, from the costumes, from the way they fly. There wasn't a lot of that going on in this episode. It was very dialogue centric, but still, it feels very, very cheap. So I can't imagine that they're doing the graphic novel justice. But again, I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments. So, and with that being said, like always, that's a wrap.